Let's jump right into this explainer. The 10-minute rule: kill the bed rot cycle and master transitions. Look, we've all been there, right? You're trapped on the couch, endlessly scrolling. You desperately want to get up and actually do something productive, but it physically feels like you just can't. Well, today we are diving deep into the neurochemistry of distraction. We're going to look at the biological friction of focusing and uncover a concept called the 10-minute rule. Trust me, this is going to fundamentally change how you approach getting things done. Let's get into it.
Okay, so here is the big question. Why does transitioning from your phone to a 60-minute work session feel like a literal survival threat to your brain? Seriously, why does it feel so painful? Well, if you struggle with this, I've got some incredibly liberating news for you. Your procrastination, it's not a moral failing. It's actually a biological software glitch. You aren't just being lazy. You are literally battling millions of years of evolutionary neurobiology that has been completely hijacked by modern tech. To fix it, we really need to look under the hood and see what's happening in your brain when you try to switch gears. That brings us to bed rotting. The definition here is key. It's a neurological trap where the brain enters a low arousal state, fueled by the variable reward of infinite scrolling. You know the feeling. You're basically lying there like a high-tech potato. Meanwhile, your brain is just soaking up these tiny, unpredictable hits of satisfaction. It's low effort, high reward. And because that reward is variable, you never really know if the next post is going to be the hilarious one, right? Your brain just flat out refuses to disengage. It's literally the exact same mechanism that keeps people glued to slot machines in Vegas for 12 hours straight.
So let's look at the brain activity during a bed rot session. We've got a massive tug of war going on here. On one side, you have your prefrontal cortex. That's the seat of your discipline, your long-term planning, and it is completely offline. On the other side, your mesolimbic dopamine pathway is absolutely hyperstimulated by all those low-effort digital triggers. So in this biological battle, your dopamine pathway is just crushing it. And because of this massive imbalance, the activation energy, meaning the sheer brute force willpower required to just stand up and walk away, it skyrockets with every single minute you keep scrolling.
And that leads us perfectly into the hidden penalties here, the hidden tax and the task switching cost. Think about it. When you habituate your brain to 15-second, super high-reward content loops, the mere thought of sitting down for a 60-minute deep work session, it feels physically painful. You are trying to move from a massively high-reward environment directly into a zero-reward, intensely boring environment. And this triggers something researchers call dopamine hunger. Your brain detects that massive, sudden drop in dopamine and flags it as a literal danger signal. That is exactly why the friction to just start working feels so impossibly high. 600. So how do we break out of this trap? The secret entirely comes down to this one magic number, 600. To break this deeply ingrained neurological cycle, you simply need to survive exactly 600 seconds of boredom. Yep, that's just 10 minutes. Research into neuroplasticity actually shows that 10 minutes is the approximate time it takes for your brain to achieve cognitive reorientation. So here's the game changer. You don't need to conquer the whole 60-minute work session right out of the gate. You just have to conquer the first 600 seconds. Let's map out that timeline. It starts with high-reward scrolling. The second you force yourself to stop and work, you hit the 10-minute focus tax. Now look, this is the transition zone, and it is absolutely the hardest part. But if you can just hold the line, that distraction cascade fades, and your brain releases acetylcholine. This stuff is incredible. Acetylcholine is the neurochemical responsible for locking in your focused attention. If you can just grit your teeth, withstand that initial friction, and survive the journey across that 10-minute transition, the spell is completely broken. Which brings us to a concept called the signal detection error. It is absolutely crucial to understand what you are actually feeling during that transition. During those first 10 minutes, that intense burning urge to just grab your phone and quit, it's a signal detection error. I'll say it again. This is not a lack of willpower. Your brain is literally screaming for the dopamine it was just getting, and it's sending you false error codes. It's telling you that whatever boring task you're looking at is the wrong thing to do. By recognizing that feeling for what it is, a biological error code, not a genuine desire to quit, you completely take back your power. And beating the biology allows us to shift our psychology. We're looking at the shift from a consumer mindset to a producer mindset. The consumer mindset is where we essentially become fuel for an algorithm, trading our finite, precious life for zero ROI entertainment. But surviving that 10-minute friction barrier, that forces the shift to a producer mindset. It moves you to a place where you treat every single hour as an investment. You stop being stuck in an endless loop and finally become the architect of your own systems. Let's look at the true cost of distraction, because the source material is pretty brutal about this. Every hour you spend rotting in that low arousal cycle, that is a direct withdrawal from your future financial freedom. Top achievers get this. They understand that focus isn't just some cute productivity hack. It's literally the ultimate wealth-generating asset. They view focus as a luxury of buyback. They ruthlessly protect their attention because they know that paying that 10-minute focus tax is the only way to escape what's called the middle-class trap of perpetual distraction. There's a quote here that just completely hits the nail on the head. Mediocrity is the compound interest of refusing to pay that 10-minute tax.
Wow. Let that sink in for a second.
Every single time you give up at minute 2 or minute 4, you aren't just losing an hour of your Tuesday. You're compounding a habit of giving up the second things get friction heavy. The long-term stakes of failing to master this transition zone are, quite frankly, astronomical. Okay, so how do we practically guarantee we make it through those 10 minutes? It starts with somatic decoupling. This simply means physically removing the distraction device from your immediate environment to lower the cognitive load. See, even if your phone is completely on silent and face down, your brain suffers from the ghost notification phenomenon. It stays hypervigilant just because the device is near you. You literally have to move the phone to another room to break the body schema, which is your brain's subconscious map that currently, crazily enough, includes your phone as an actual physical extension of your own body. Let's break this down into a highly tactical framework called the billionaire time block. Step 1. You trigger the 10-minute commitment immediately the second you feel the urge to scroll. You build a mental reflex. Step 2. You enter the sacrificial window, where you expect nothing but your physical presence. We'll talk more about that in a sec. Step 3. Right at the 10-minute mark, your biological task switching cost is fully paid. And step 4, boom, acetylcholine hits, and you enter that highly coveted flow state. This 4-step process is exactly how you outsmart your own neurochemistry. Now, let's zero in on step 2. The sacrificial window removes performance anxiety. This is an absolute game changer. So often, we retreat right back to our phones because we feel this massive pressure to instantly produce genius-level work the very second we sit down at our desks. The sacrificial window means you expect absolutely zero quality work in those first 10 minutes. None. You can write total garbage, you can stare blankly at a spreadsheet, you just cannot look at your phone. By treating that initial time as purely sacrificial, you completely eliminate the performance anxiety that drives you right back to bed rotting. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative question to close out our explainer today. Will you pay the high price of being average in 10-minute increments of failed discipline, or the price of opulence in 10-minute increments of grit? Look, every single time that urge hits, just remember, it's not you, it's just a biological software glitch. You only have to survive 600 seconds to completely change your trajectory. Try it out. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.